What's up, YouTube? In this video, I'm going to be talking about my first day in Jiu-Jitsu, and eventually I'll make a video on my first day in Judo, which are vastly different, but really, it's only because of experience, when I went into my first Judo class, I had already been doing Jiu-Jitsu for over a year, and when I went into my first Jiu-Jitsu class, I had essentially no experience. I had, rolled around with some old coworkers years ago who had trained, and for the most part they taught me a move that I didn't understand, and then they kicked my butt for a couple minutes. And so I walked in with really no experience aside of like knowing that I'm not very good at this. And my first day, I had gone in and I had just come out, recovered from my injuries, and so I hadn't walked. I'd only been walking without crutches for I think 2 months or something like that, and I couldn't walk for several months before that. I hadn't run in over a year. I hadn't mountain biked. I hadn't done really anything. So I went in and I thought, like, I hope this isn't too physically demanding. And I didn't say anything to my coach. I didn't tell him, like, hey, I just got off my crutches, so be easy on me. But I think my coach's philosophy is that a minor warm-up is good, but if people like an extensive warm-up or like to have like a mild calisthenics or strength exercise beforehand, that's up to them. He opens the gym early enough that people can come in and get their warm-up before class if they would like to. So we don't spend a lot of time on that because it's an hour and a half class. An hour and a half of jiu-jitsu is good, but if you lose 30 minutes of that to a warm-up, you're really losing a lot of practice you could be getting. So I went in, and the warm-up wasn't bad. We did a light jog, some side shuffles, and some forward rolls, some backward rolls, some hip escapes, and then we stretched, and then it was time for class. And that particular day, the first day, we were doing a series of back takes, duck under, and arm drag, and they were both duck under from inside tie lift. And they were both specifically to get to the back and to do one of the cases was a sit and trip, and the other case I think was a bump. And I know these things now because I remember what the technique was, and I do them now. I know what the names of these techniques are, but at the time, like I wouldn't have been able to explain it to you in words, aside of like it's something like you grab the guy's wrist and then you like pull it forward and reach behind to I'd have to describe it as opposed to just naming it. Anybody out there who has been doing grappling for a while would know these terms. But if you don't, you can just YouTube it. But these were the techniques we were doing, and it wasn't like really, really physically demanding or really challenging. We try to be really good partners to one another. And then after about an hour of that, we had 30 minutes of sparring. And my first sparring session was with one of my teammates there, Megan. She's about 5'3", like 120 some pounds, and I'm about 150 pounds, and 5'7", 5'8", just about. And I've always been pretty I'm not ultra ripped or anything, but pretty athletic. I've never been, aside of when I have to take a really long rest like I did for my injuries, aside of that, I never find it difficult to take on a physical challenge. And that day, it was, I expected to have an upper hand, and I did, I did have a size advantage, I did have a strength advantage, but that's about all I had. The rest of it was, I lacked all of the skill, and she was a blue belt at the time. She was a good blue belt at the time. I believe she had been awarded her purple belt by the gym at which she trained before coming to Peterson Grapplers. and that's sort of more recent. But yeah, she was a blue belt at the time. It was my first day, so you can imagine. Yeah, she wiped the floor with me, and it was a good experience. It was a good experience for a couple of reasons. And the first was that it's really humbling, and you have to come to terms with it and just kind of move on from it and learn that early on. I think anybody who does jiu-jitsu knows that it's, regardless of how athletic and how big and strong you might be, like, there's going to be somebody in that gym who's going to wreck you. And because if you're brand new, you're brand new. You know, you're not skilled yet, so you're going to lose. And the other bit of it is that, like, it forced me in that moment to decide. You know, I could say that, yeah, you have to be humbled, but, like, the reality of it really sets in when you have to decide. Here I am. I did not expect to lose to a girl that's smaller than me, which, you know, of course, now I'm like, yeah, obviously I would have lost. There's really no shame in that. She was a really good blue belt. And it was my first day. But at the time, that's not how I saw it. And I don't think that's how a lot of new guys see it, is that they see it as like, this girl's smaller than me. How good could she possibly be that I can't beat her? This is frustrating. This is, and so you end up in this place that you're like, well, my pride has been destroyed. And do I keep doing this? Do I keep participating and keep getting my butt kicked and keep getting embarrassed and keep feeling frustrated about not winning? Or do I just get over it and know that this is what I decided to do? I decided to start training, and this is a step in that process. So, you know, needless to say, I kept training. But it was a really good experience, those first times. So, here soon I'll make a video about my first time in judo. That was my first time in jiu-jitsu. And yeah, thinking back to it now, I'm like, man, I'm really glad I didn't quit. So, stay tuned.